Hey, welcome everyone. Thanks for clicking on my channel today. What I wanted to do is an update for year number 4 for my 12x24 Intex pool. Had a lot of views on my 3-year review, so I thought it was time to go ahead and do the 4-year review. And this one's not going to be as polished and pretty as the first video because, to be honest, just haven't had time to keep up with the landscaping and everything around the pool this season. Got a little bit of a late start due to weather and things that have gone on this year, but have all the intentions of getting to it. If I flip my camera around, so you got piles and piles of mulch ready to put out. So this is going to be a real down and dirty in the trenches video, where you can see, if you look at my old video, the potential, and this year's video, what happens when you don't keep up with everything. And then I'm going to give you a review on how the pool's holding up for year number 4. So let's go ahead and get started. So one reason I haven't had time to keep up with things is I have been working on this for the last year. So this restoration on this VW has kind of held up all my time. But let's talk about the pool. I did get a little bit of mulch put out, still got a lot of weeding to do, and of course those free banana plants that I got, they're doing fantastic. I'll give you some more shots of this as we walk around the pool, but the sidewall for my garage here is 9 feet tall, so you can see how large these are, and I do have them all the way down the side of the garage, and then the perimeter of the pool you'll see where I've got them in, and I got these for free off Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Somebody was getting rid of them because they're so aggressive. If you're wanting to put some of these in, they grow really fast. I'm in the Carolinas and they hold up real good in the winter, but you can see the shoots. See if I can zoom in. But you can see the shoots that are coming up, and they tend to do that. Multiple shoots will come up. They'll continue to grow. These were really just sticks that were chopped off at ground level. I stuck them in the ground, and you can see how well they're doing. Beautiful tropical look to it, and I like it. All right, so let's talk about the Intex pool so far, year number 4. And these are just my opinions, just understand that, my experience. Of course, I bought this pool over 4 years ago, or maybe exactly 4 years ago, this July, which will be tomorrow, for, I want to say it was around $1,400–$1,600. You'll have to go back and look at my first video to get the exact price, but definitely cheaper than what they are now. They've easily doubled or tripled in price, and let me show you how I've got mine set up. So I am running 2 pumps. If you go back and look at my other videos, you'll see this, but this is the original. I believe it's the non-salt water sand filter. I think it's around 1,600 gallon per hour setup. And all I do with this pump over here is run my vacuum off of it. So still hanging in there after 4 years, no real problems with it. It is a little bit noisy, but you can see I didn't do anything fancy. I just ran some hoses through the corner, and if you look down in here, you can see my vacuum runs off of that. And I just leave it in there. If I've got a bunch of people over, I'll pull it out of the pool. But I just leave it in there. What I do is I try to circulate the water as much as possible. So in a perfect scenario, I get my 2 pumps in sync, where this one runs pretty much overnight, and then the main filter pump comes in during the day, and it keeps the water circulated. As far as the pool, it's holding up pretty good. I probably need to pressure wash it to clean it up a little bit. The legs are holding up pretty good. They are mounted on concrete pads that are buried in the ground. I am running this off of a ground fault circuit from the house. And nothing fancy. I've got a waterproof box. The main power feed goes in. If I keep this pool longer, if it lasts longer, I'll probably mount this on a pole to get it up off the ground, but it stays really dry. I've got it sitting on a pallet right there. And then the pool itself, both the pumps have ground faults on the end of the power cords, and then it's on a ground fault circuit plugged into the house, so it's double ground faulted. I haven't had any problem with it at all running two pumps off of the same, it's probably a 20-30 amp breaker off of an outside plug on the house. Occasionally when the power surges, I'll have a problem with it tripping the ground fault breakers for the pumps themselves that are in this box right here. And I got that box off of Amazon. You can order them. And all I do is come out here, open it up, reset the breakers, and then resync the pumps so they're coming on at the right times. And one thing I hadn't gotten around to with the lumber shortage this year, I do have some lumber in there, but my plans are to build a wooden box with a sloped roof, think lean-to type setup here to cover the pump up. Right now, nothing fancy. It's pretty ugly. I simply have plastic totes that I cut the back side out of, and I put it in there. That is the Intex pump, if I didn't mention that. I mean, the Intex vacuum. Pretty happy with it. I know there's some expensive ones that you can get, several $100s. This one's probably, I don't know, 150 bucks, so it's not very expensive. I do have the Intex Lite. I've got it set up on a Wyze, W-Y-Z-E, internet controlled plug that's inside of that box so that I can turn it on. It did have a remote. If you get this Intex lamp, it did have a remote, but that quit working not soon after I bought it. So I've got it hooked up to another device so I can turn it on and off, and I'll get some footage later today when it gets dark of what it looks like when it's all lit up, my whole patio. Okay, sorry if there was glare on the other side. I was kind of facing toward the sun there. Let's talk about the ugly side of year 4 for one of these Intex pools. So what I did was when I bought the original pool, of course that pump I just showed you was the original one that comes with the pool. I upgraded to the sand saltwater system. I went back and looked, and I paid about $375 for this setup originally. Forget that now. They're $1,500. These particular ones aren't available, but for the salt systems, $1,500 and up. It's ridiculous on the price. This thing has worked phenomenal. My cost for maintaining the pool has been very, very low up until year 4. This year, well, let me talk about what it's been on average. $65 to maybe $100 worth of additional chemicals is all I've been using for the first 4 years. And that's mainly pH down, occasionally maybe some shock. But I take a water sample to my local pool store. This is just a few miles down the road. I get it tested a lot at the beginning of the season, and then maybe once or twice throughout the season. And then I use the test strips the rest of the year. And it's been great. Now let's talk about year number 4 this year. My salt generator quit working at the beginning of the season, and that is this component that you see here. It has plates inside of it with an electrical connection. Of course, it's controlled by a computer. When the salt water moves past those plates, it generates its own chlorine. So everybody that paid attention in chemistry class, I'm sure you know a whole lot more about this than I do. For the rest of us, it's just magic. And it keeps your cost way down because it's making its own chlorine. Now, add to that this year, there's a shortage of chlorine, and the cost is blown through the roof. Used to be maybe $3 for a 3-ounce tablet. I've paid this year just opening the pool as much as 20 bucks a tablet, which is just terrible. The price is coming down some as the availability goes back up. But again, to replace this salt generator, first of all, Intex parts, good luck as they start to age out finding replacement parts for Intex. They're just not there. I've been looking everywhere, and the only place that I found what I think is the replacement version of this salt or chlorine generator, because you can replace just the insides, is in Russia somewhere, and they're not terribly expensive, probably under 100 bucks, but I haven't rolled the dice to try that. So what I decided this year, I'll just start throwing chemicals in there, forget about the salt system. I cranked it up at the beginning of the season, it wasn't working right. So I started throwing chlorine in there, and then of course the price went through the roof. So now I'm fighting with that, trying to keep the pool going. That's a pretty major problem for this year, because I've probably already spent $200 and it's June, and I opened the pool late. Last year I opened the pool in March time frame, let it run for about a month to clean it up. This year I didn't really open it till almost Memorial Day weekend. I started trying to adjust it, late April, beginning of May. I did have a problem with the water turning green this year, which I haven't had before, because I usually jump on it before the temperature gets above 60 degrees and I can catch it and keep it from turning green. But this year it turned green, had to shock it, had to throw a bunch of chemicals at it. Just lots of problems. You can see occasionally I spring some minor leaks. If you look right here, this valve that's an aerator on the top, those things are terrible for leaking, so I just put like a rubber cap on top of it, and I open it and close it as needed. Obviously when it's running, the water's running past it and it causes a suction and it doesn't leak, but when it just sits there, you can see it gets a little drip trail. Not major, but it will, over a period of time, you'll lose some water from the pool. So again, that's the major downfall this year, is the fact that the chlorine generator quit. There are aftermarket versions, there are updated Intex versions. Again, a lot of them were sold out this year, but the price is more than I paid for the entire pool package. So as you can see, I know I'm kind of harping on this subject, but not worth it. Moving along, something else you'll fight, starting with probably year one, is just rust. Running a saltwater system. So occasionally you'll get things like this going on, where I've had a little leak there. I'll come out here with Rust-Oleum paint and touch it up. The corner pieces, let me walk back over here. These corner connections are also terrible for rusting. So I always have to put paint on there, but I'm staying on top of it enough to where they're staying in pretty good shape. But if you don't, these things will rust completely in half, and then it could possibly make your pool unusable. I'm thinking if they ever fail, because again, it's one of those parts that's hard to find. If it does ever fail, I can probably go to like a muffler shop and get a piece of pipe bent that'll work. All right, moving along some more. Again, another problem I've had this season is these intake hoses. That's the return over there. On the intake hose, these two hoses here, I'm almost scared to touch them. They deteriorate real quick in the sun. You can almost see it on this one. They'll start cracking, and then they'll break open, and the pump will start sucking air, and then you have to replace these. I luckily have extra parts and pieces, so I can replace them as needed, but they're really flimsy, really bad. I probably need to tie that one up. So nothing pretty, but I did tie that one up just to keep the weight off of it. But if you're gonna do it right the first time, which I should have done, and I may eventually do that, is just go ahead and hard pipe it. Go get some PVC pipe, get some connectors that are the right size, and go ahead and plumb it with hard PVC all the way back to the pump, and then you won't be fighting. The bigger hoses seem to be fine. It's these little hoses, which honestly I can make some connections there with some PVC and some rubber tubing or rubber hose. And get some elbows, it wouldn't be bad. But I would suggest go ahead and do that. I am also running on this second intake, the skimmer, the Intex skimmer, and I apologize for the shadows. I've also got a floater that I threw in there this year with the chlorine in there. You don't have to get a floater if you were going to run chlorine. You could just drop the tablets in the skimmer. I did upgrade my ladder. You can kind of see it from here to a better version than what came with the pool. I like it a lot better. I just attached it to the deck. It does float a little bit. You're supposed to fill the arms or side of the ladder with sand to keep it from floating up, but I didn't really want to hassle with trying to pour sand down those little arms, and scared it was going to dump sand out in the pool, but I probably should have. But I do take it on and off in the winter, and if I'd put sand in it, it would be terribly heavy to do that. So I just let it float up. When you step on it, it goes back down. Okay, let's walk back around here. Again, you can see the other side of the pool. This is the cover that I used this season really for the first time that I used it for a cover. But all this is, it's the Intex, I don't know, roller, I guess you call it, a storage part for storing a regular pool cover. And then what I bought is one of the solar pool covers, which basically is just like a double layer of some fancy bubble wrap. And I just let it float on top of the pool all winter, and it did a marvelous job. It's very lightweight. It doesn't sink or get filled up with water like the regular covers do. So I just leave that on all winter. I unroll it. If anything gets on top of it, it doesn't seem to cause it to sink because it has the air bubbles inside of it, and then it's also so lightweight. However, if you start looking at it, it's starting to deteriorate. Again, I've probably had this since maybe year 2, so it's probably 3 years old. The sun kills it, believe it or not. A solar cover, the sun kills it. This is something I ordered off Amazon in the dimensions that I needed for my pool. So it'll be due replacement this year. I've had every intention of getting out here this year and just go ahead and take it off and throw it away so it doesn't look so bad. But it's kind of convenient just to leave it stored right there. It looks terrible, but it works, it's functional. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk over here around my back entrance. Again, this you can see this is where I'm not done remulching this year, and it looks terrible. It's getting grown up. So if you look at the past videos, it looked much nicer before. Legs are holding up good over here. And then I got my back entrance to the deck. And of course I've got a hot tub built into the deck too, which is another story. Lots of chemical and maintenance and things breaking, but I'm pretty good just watching videos. I've replaced this hot tub once, and I've kind of rebuilt and replaced the heater system on it, I guess the beginning of last season. But yeah, there's the pool. I'll give you another shot tonight of all the lights in the deck and the pool when it's all lit up. So apologize for the glare and the shadows, but if I didn't mention it earlier, the size of the pumps that I'm running, the first one came with the pool, 1,600 gallons per hour. The second one is either 24 or 2,800 gallons per hour. The pool itself in 12 by 24 is somewhere around 8,000, maybe 8,500 gallons. So I'm running those two pumps. It does turn the water over pretty quick, and it stays very, very clean, as you can see from the shots that I just did. But that's pretty much about it. That's all I wanted to cover, other than just my opinion on the Intex pool for year 4. In my opinion, the above ground pools like that probably have expected lifespan of about maybe 5 years. You know, I take really good care of mine as much as possible to try to make it last as long as I can. So I'll be happy, very happy with the initial expense. I mean, right now I'm sitting at, the cost is about, from the initial purchase, about $500 per year, because I got about $2 grand in the initial purchase, not counting chemicals, those are consumables. But I'd love to see that getting down to around 200, 250 a year. I think I would be really getting my money out of the pool for that price. So that means I need to stretch this thing to last, you know, close to 10 years. Whether it'll do that or not, we'll see. I'll be pretty ecstatic if this pool lasts 6 to 10 years. Again, I'm at year 4. I'm already having some failures in equipment. Of course, you can replace equipment. The big determination is going to be, you know, how long does the liner last? How long do the legs hold up? You know, I've got the older version of the Intex pool. They do have an ultra version where they've put some sort of rust preventative on the inside of the legs and the poles, and everything should last a little bit longer. But again, it's a lot of work to do the initial setup, the ground prep, and to get everything right. Of course, I did an extension on my deck, and it takes a lot to get it level, to get it working right. And I hate to just tear it down and I guess replace it with a patio and a fire pit. So I'm gonna try to keep it going as long as I can. But I may even replace it with an upgraded pool if the prices come back within reason. But I just can't see, you know, doubling or tripling the price, you know, to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for the same pool that I bought for about $2,000. So that's just me. That's just my opinion. Again, you have to make your own decisions. But overall, I'd probably give the pool a good solid B, if not a B+. What I would give a D or an F is just the support, probably from Intex, as far as the parts and pieces. You know, once they make a pump or the parts of the pump obsolete and they come out with a new model, it's pretty much impossible to get any replacement parts for anything. So just keep that in mind. If you are going to buy one of these, go ahead and belly up for extra parts and pieces that you might need, specifically if you're going to go with the saltwater system, which I definitely give a A+ thumbs up when it works. I would buy the extra chlorine generator just to have a spare. And then probably the lifespan on those, from what I can see reading online, is maybe every 3 to 5 years you're going to have to replace that. So overall, like I said, high B, B+ for the overall pool on year 4. Hope this helps. I've got a lot of views. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and help me out. Hit that subscription button, hit that like button, and then we'll keep you updated as things move along. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Take care.